Okay, that working? Hello, I'm Sarah. How's it going? This is Sew Live, where I sew things with you. It's really casual today, the last one as well, just because I haven't had anything prepared because I was traveling. So I pulled something out that I had cut out and has been staring at me from over there for a little while. And it's my Archer button up. So I need to change my thread, obviously. So how are you? What are you guys sewing? What are you guys working on? I've been like, I'm sewing before stream on other things. That's why I'm not quite ready. But I didn't want to be late. That's not blue. Wait, is that my blue? That looks brighter. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. It looks brighter all of a sudden. Hello, Malin. I'm good. I had a pretty stressful morning, but I am ready for this. It's so funny because I feel like people around me would think, hey, if you want things to be a little less stressful, why don't you skip a day of streaming? And it's like, this is my relaxing time. It's when I just hang out and sew and chat. You know, it's like, it's my garment, so, you know, no one has to own it but me. Hello, Eliza. How are you doing? So, yeah, this is actually my relaxed time. But, yeah, this morning I had over 100 packages to drop off at the post office because my postal carrier can't fit them in his van, and I have the nicest postal carrier that I've had since I've lived here, and I'm really nice. Like, I'm really respectful. Hi, Ida. You know, it's like I'm easy to work with, but I'm not kidding. Every postal carrier I've had except for the one I have now, when they see my packages, they're like, they say it this way too. They're like, I can't take these. I'm like, okay, so what, you know, I don't even know what to say to that. I'm speechless. I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'm paying for door-to-door delivery, and this is all you do is, you know, pick up and deliver packages. That's it, right? So I don't know what to say here. And then they'll say, you need to take these to the dock behind the post office. Let me tell you, I don't wish that experience on anyone. It's awful. Nobody makes eye contact with you. They ignore you. There's no place to put them sometimes. And there's no one scanning them in. And it's just like this open dock, you know, anyone could walk up. And, you know, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. And driving back there, they don't really care. They just walk right in front of you, right behind you. It doesn't matter. Like, it's awful. And I think, okay, one of you guys told me to come here, so here I am, you know. And this morning, I know my postal carrier, his little car can't even fit the amount of packages I have right now. So I thought, I'm just going to take them over there. I got openly hostile glares from people. No one would move. No one would let me drop my packages off. I'm like, I don't really know what to do. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. I pay in postage enough a year for one of their full-time salary. So it's like, I know one of you's not working full-time for me, so what do you want me to do? It's so frustrating. So my postal carrier is so nice that he actually gave me his phone number. And so I texted him, I'm like, I hope you're working today, but I don't think you can take these. And he said, I'm going to make them fit. It's like, what the heck? Okay, so that was my stressful morning. I'm really glad he's working today. I'm a little worried about them out in front, but hey, you know, like, it's up to them. And that is, those are really important to me. So that was my frustrating morning. Thank you for letting me vent. You guys are all like, oh my God, Sarah, get to the sewing. So I am working on this Archer. And last time we were here, a couple days ago, I did the front plackets, the pockets, the yoke, the shoulders, and I prepped the collar. And I sewed my back yoke seam to a side seam, something I've never done in my life. No wonder it didn't fit. And who knew they were so similar in size? So I pulled it off so you didn't have to wait around for me to do that. And I'm going to reattach my yoke, and then we're going to move on. And yes, I did adjust my shoulders because of that little mistake I made. So yeah, so here, this is what I did. So this is my side seam. So that looks like the top of the yoke, doesn't it? But that's the side seam, because see, look, there's the curved hem. Real sewing. Hi, Carol. Here's the top. That looks better. There's actually an armhole. I was like, what is up with this armhole, remember? Like, why does this look so weird? Did I cut this funny? See, here's the deal. I can believe in a little magic. Like, I really can. But I full on believe in the sewing fairy. And I know you guys are probably rolling your eyes, but in the past, like, sometimes I'll start sewing and my needle will come unthreaded. And it'll do it a couple of times. And I've learned over the years to stop and go, wait a minute, someone's trying to tell me something. And sure enough, it's usually true. And so I kind of carried that belief to the present day. I have a little altar in the window, and I make offerings to the sewing fairy occasionally. You know, I know. Don't worry, I'm not cuckoo. But I feel like the sewing fairy was trying to shout at me, and I did not hear them. So anyway, here I am. So I'm going to try and still sew this so that I don't have to hand sew. I'm definitely not going to hand sew. I mean, who are we kidding? But this seems a little longer to do the clean finish method that I do on the top shoulders. But I've done it before, so I'm going to do it. And if it doesn't work, I have another way to do it. So let's see. This is the right side, right? You guys picked this as my right side, so this is my... I want to do this. I'm actually going to check the length because I have a pleat in here. But now that I've adjusted, yeah, Nancy, well, she's not very nice. But I totally respect her. I have full-on respect for her or him, whoever it is that day. I feel like there's a few of them looking out for us. All right, so I'm going to, I'm just going to look at my cross back because, you know, there is this little pleat, and now I can have the pleat, which makes me really happy. I'm going to look for my center. There it is. I'm going to sew it on from the side so that I can keep this stitching looking like it's straight. Hello, Nancy. So let's see here. Let me find my center. There we go. I'm going to use a couple pins just to make it easy on myself, right? I'm not going to let my needle get unthreaded. So yeah, so the thing with see how my seam allowance got a little narrow there? It's because I really want, because we're using this as the outside, that's basically a stripe, and I don't want it to look like it's crooked. So I would have probably paid attention to cutting it out differently had I realized I was ever going to use this side. You know, the other side's polka dots. It's kind of an all over. It doesn't quite look like a stripe, so I could get away with not thinking of it as one. So that's one other thing that I'm taking into consideration. I'm going to do this. I'm going to anchor it at both sides, and then I'm going to smooth it. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this yoke seam too so that it's straight and I don't have to worry about it. That'll make it a lot easier. So I'm just going to trim along with dots there. This is kind of becoming my Franken archer. If you want to see a better sewn archer, check out the other one I did. Because this is a really lovely pattern. And I cut it out a really long time ago, so it's definitely not getting the respect it deserves. So that's how much off it was by the time I got to the end. And let's see here. I'll repin that. So are you guys sewing today? It's okay, Carol. That's, what is it? Yeah, okay. I think it's fun. I just trimmed the right one, right? Oh my gosh. You guys. Did I just trim the wrong one? Oh my god, I probably did. I am so out of sorts. This is the one I want. Oh my goodness. See, at least I figured it out now. And at least I can, they'll both be trimmed a little. This is so not scientific though. Sometimes we end up fudging things a little bit too much. And this is one of those times. I'm kind of getting into that territory where I'm like, wow, am I being a really bad example right now? And I kind of am. But I don't have any more of this fabric to cut out a new thing. I would rather deal with some of the issues that I might be creating for myself in another way. This shirt I know is too long for me too, so I have some room there. I just don't want to create any weird fit things by making it asymmetrical like I am. Oh, you're knitting? Oh, nice. Oh, how are those, Malin? How was it? Yeah, like because the Darlow has all those crazy curves. Oh, cool, Carol. Oh, you're prepping for classes? Are you a teacher, Eliza, or are you taking classes? I'm your evening entertainment? Oh my gosh. Yep. I don't feel much like sewing inspiration right now. All right, let me get here. So what do I want? Do I want a inverted pleat or the other way? I'm gonna remark my center. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm all thumbs. Sorry. I'll get into a groove. It's always that first bit. I've been sewing notions cases this morning because on top of everything else, oh, you're teaching. Oh yeah, that's a lot of prepping for classes. My website decided that it was allowed to sell some things that were out of stock. Thankfully, I had those fabrics, and thankfully they were simple to sew things because I'm kind of past sewing things right now. I'm telling people I don't have the time. I've got so many orders right now that I really have to spend my full time dealing with the orders because that is my first and foremost priority. But I had a fabric store come by yesterday looking at some fabrics. I'm making this look so terrible. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just all thumbs. Oh, I know how I do this. I have like a little way and I just do it sometimes. Right now I'm overthinking it. Is it fun to sew? Yeah, because sometimes when you see curves, you think, oh, no problem. They look like they nest right together. But that's not the case, is it? Because when you sew a curve like this, the two pattern pieces are opposite curves to each other when you're attaching them. Oh, cool. You're going to do some pattern adjustments like for fit? Because that would be a kind of an ambitious one. It looks like I can't see where the curves are yet. I need to like look at that hashtag more closely because there's not a lot of pants sewn in it yet, you know? Sorry, my hand's in the way. All right, so let's see here. I'm gonna take this out. There we go. Usually there's really helpful notches, but I have lost those notches because I have not been sewing this right. So here we go. I'm just going to sew a little bit down to make my pleat. I like inverted pleats. It's just a personal preference. Yeah, me too, Carol. I'm interested to see those. They're really cool. You could have a lot of fun with the pattern and the fabric. Okay, here we go. I got my pleat in there. Now I'm going to try and sew these so I do not have to, you know, do any crazy sewing. So like, here is my yoke, right? Now there's a couple ways I can go about this to clean finish it without having to hand sew or do some blind under, you know, like turning and top stitching, which is totally a possibility. And the way I would go about that is I would sew it from the inside of the garment first, the inside yoke first, and then I would do the outer yoke down on top so that I was doing my last stitching on the right side. But I'm going to try and do it, I think, what's called the burrito method. Oh, cool, Blonde. You get a fix kit with the pattern for the most common things. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Okay, so This is my inside yoke, so there's this, I'm doing this, I'm showing the yoke that goes on the outside. That's the one I want up because I actually want to pay attention to the lines of the polka dots. So I'm not going to really pin this. I'm just going to try and sew it together like this. And all of this back is going to end up inside of my yoke like this, like a burrito. That's why they call it that. It's a little fiddly. That's why I like doing the front shoulder, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to do a little less than the recommended seam allowance because I've been kind of monkeying around with the straight line of it. This fabric is nice and soft, so it's probably going to comply with me pretty easily. You know, it could be worse. But I wouldn't be able to pin the whole thing. So here I am, I'm closing it, no problem. See, I'm going to be able to make it all the way down like that. And because we're not, the edges are not encased, it's no problem to turn it right side out. All right. I'm gonna make sure my stitching line stays straight because I feel like I might have just gotten off a little bit. That's great, Malin. Yeah, notches are great. And you know the thing about curves too is that those curves put some of the fabric on the bias, which makes it probably a little easier for easing and things like that. Definitely going to back stitch just because I'm going to be turning it right side out. So here you go. See, my shirt is inside the yoke. You can stop. I'm just going to look and see how straight my seam is because I feel like I ended up on the other side of these polka dots. I trimmed as little as I could, so maybe a little bit off. So I'm going to straighten this out a little tiny bit because on the right side, it looks way more crooked because of the stripes, right? All right, so now I'm going to pull it through just like that. Boink. There it is. Clean finish, little inverted pleat with lint. Lint is free. Let's hope my line is still straight. I'm going to just hot stitch it down. It looks like it. One thing's great. Dark fabrics really hide some of your imperfections, and you know, this one was cut out and sitting here languishing for so long. I've definitely, you know, I'm kind of definitely having some creative moments here. All right, here we go. Here's my back yoke now. We are back on track, so now we can put on our collar. So let's see. This is the under collar. It has the seam. You can see these diagonal lines. That's how I know. It's really easy to put this on upside down. I've done it before. I've seen other really good sewists do it as well. So what I like to do now is ensure success by looking at it as if I'm going to be wearing it. So this is how I would be wearing it, right? Be around like this. Like, I feel like I used to sit there and go, I'm not gonna give myself this little, like, I don't know, easy thing to make it easier, you know? Oh, just a second. All right, sorry guys. How does this pattern work on a fluffy body and full chest? For the Archer, the one that I'm sewing, that one, I feel like this is a very forgiving pattern. Let's see, I think I'm sewing the medium and it's still pretty roomy. I have a 37, 38 inch bust. And I feel like I could go down, you know, like if I wanted a little more tailored fit. I don't have the pattern in front of me to look at the sizes and all of the other bust measurements created. I'm not sure how inclusive the Grainline Studio patterns are for curvy yet. So I haven't really looked at them. And I'm not really sure what people are considering now is the new standard for curvy sizes and inclusivity, because it used to be something a little different. And I feel like what we used to consider curvy patterns are now more average. They're standard and they're average, and they should have been a long time ago. So it's kind of hard for me to say. I actually don't like calling anything one way or the other. I would rather we just go by bust measurements if it's a top, or an across shoulder measurement if it's a top, or hip and waist if you're talking about bottoms. That way it's just a number. Hi Karen, how's it going? You know what I mean? That way it's like, oh, does this pattern go up to size 48 bust, 58 bust? And then you would know, you know, rather than it calling it a size, because you can say, oh, it's a 24, and that can mean all kinds of things depending on what pattern it is, you know what I mean? So I would look, you can usually see all of the sizing and the finished measurements and the size chart of every pattern online. So I don't know if that helps, Eliza. I can go grab it if you want, though. All right, so this is the thing. I used to not like give myself these little like helper things. And then I was like, why do I feel like I'm dumb because I'm doing that? I just want to help. Yeah. Oh, that's good, Carol. Yeah, right, Nancy? Yeah, I mean, it goes for both ways. It doesn't matter what size you are, whether you're petite or anything. I will tell you this, like, I do find it helpful when you're distinguishing sizing based on age, when you're talking about younger age categories. And the reason I say this is because a lot of age groups haven't hit puberty, and things change about the body when you've hit puberty. And that is why there are juniors and misses sizes that are so similar. And the way you can distinguish on the rack which is juniors are odd numbers, missy, which is like women's, adult women, is even numbers. Yeah, it is kind of a boxy fit, Eliza. Yeah, and I feel like there's another one that has darts and a little more shaping that I really want to do. Yeah, exactly, Malin. Yeah, if you check out the Instagram tag, Sew My Size, SEWMY, and then the word size, you might be able to find someone with your measurements, and then you can kind of look for, you know, someone your size and making things that you like, and then you can see how it looks like on them. So, okay, here we go. So this is how I would wear it, right? Like this. So that means that that is the right side. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew it from the inside to the outside, because I'm a cheater. And I have no shame in cheating. I've actually seen people comment on things that I've posted that are like, well, that doesn't look that hard, so why is it so impressive? I just think, well, isn't that the point? That doesn't look hard. Like, if you want hard, honey, there's plenty of hard things to make out there. All right, so I really like my front to be nice and straight and lined up. So sometimes what I do is I open this out, and then I line it up right on top of it. Sometimes I even sew it instead of pin it. Yeah, it's a great fat hashtag, Nancy. I agree. There's a lot of brave people putting out their measurements because there shouldn't be any shame. It's just a number. But I understand. I understand the feeling around not wanting to share our measurements. But sometimes what's shocking is when you see someone that has your height and exact same measurements, and they look completely different than you. It's so, I think it's really awesome. I love the, like seeing all that. As a pattern drafter, I used to have a friend that we had the same height and same measurements, and we were 20 pounds different, you know? It's like, you just don't know where people carry their weight. It's a really cool exercise. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm just anchoring down my collar. This pattern is my pieces are getting so tired from all my monkeying around. And like my collar, that is because I used the interfacing as the self. I'm going to trim this because I have to go buy the shallower seam allowance. So I'm just going to get rid of this excess right now. And I'm making sure that it's not because it's sagging down. It's not. It's because I've been monkeying around with that seam. Oh, and don't let me forget, this is a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So big. Yeah, right, Nancy? It is. It's really empowering. I totally agree. But it's not for everyone. It doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to post your measurements. Just look for your measurements. Okay, these scissors are a little small for this job here. There we go. I'll look at my collar too. What I want to make sure is that I don't just line up the edges like this. Because look at, there's some slack there. Can you see that? So like, this is my collar. I'm opening it up. Because these are 2 layers here. This is my interfacing. This is my self, my outer fabric. And I have not done any top stitching or under stitching on these pieces yet because I want to do it at the very end because I want to do it all at one time. And I also can't on this edge yet because it would make it so that I couldn't go right up to the seam when I attach the collar stand to the neckline. You're trying to do this little square of fabric. You mean like you were snipping? Yeah. It's kind of like that hem I told you about in that plaid shirt when I was in high school. My shirt kept getting shorter and shorter. All right, so this is my inner stand. This is my outer stand. And so it wants to sit flat like this. So I'm just going to trim off this excess right there. It's either that or I stitch it down along the neckline, but I think it's okay to just trim. Get rid of it right now. So I can see exactly where my neckline is. Remember, this is a very casual sew along. I am Frankensteining my way through this because I didn't have interfacing cut out and I was like, oh shoot, I need some interfacing. So I cut some on the fly out of myself. I did not want to use my usual fusible stuff because it was a little heavy for this fabric. And I do like demonstrating the fact that I just used the self fabric. In a lot of cases, it works as interfacing because it's the same weight, you know, which is really nice. It's going to behave the same. It's going to wash and dry the same. Make sure you always cut it on the same grain line as the piece it's going to, unless you're trying to achieve a different effect. And, but if you are using a white shirt, not a white shirt, just make sure that if you're using a print shirt, that if you're using the same interfacing and it's white, that your print's not going to show through, you know. That's my only, like, sometimes it doesn't work. All right, let's get this done. I'm looking for my center back neck, all my little trimming. I'm just gonna mark it. That. So that was my postal carrier that came in. He has ordered a truck to come and pick up my stuff. We'll see. He's done that for me before, and then they just don't come. It's like, oh man, these people. I just want to ship packages. I just unpinned that because I really want to get an accurate read on my center back neck. There we go. That. Normally this was all marked. I've just like trimmed little things here and there, and I just want to make sure. I just like to set myself up to succeed. There's my shoulder line. Awesome. I'm so glad that that's there. All right. All right, so I'm gonna sew from the inside to the outside. That's not okay right there. You see this? It's a little shallower right there. It would be fine if it lined up with that and this was hanging down, but I'm not too crazy about the fact that that's all uneven. Because if I just trim that, it makes my collar stand on this side too narrow. It won't match. So I need to trim both. See, we're Frankensteining still. All right. So my collar stands need to match right there. So now I'm going to kind of even them up a little better. I want them to be the same. Left to right. Inside, outside. It's half inch seam allowance. There's plenty of room to adjust things. All right, so this is like this. All right. Now I'm ready. Now I know I can line up cut edges, which I actually really like. I'm going to double check. That's the inside, that's the outside, that's my top collar. Perfect. It's kind of confusing. At least it is for me. I'm going to reline this up again. I pull it apart. I snipped off my back stitch, so I got to be really careful. I'm going to pinch those seam allowances down so it doesn't pull apart anymore. Right there. All the layers. So what do you guys want to sew next? I have a couple needle sharp boxes, which one has a robe-like item. It's the Howery jacket, I think, by Wixton. And the other one, I don't know what the other one is. It's jeans. What are they, Nancy? Is it the Morgan? No. You got the Morgans. What did I get? I don't remember. And I have this boiled wool that I would like to sew up before it gets too warm, which is soon. I have a bunch of knits, but it means setting up, trying to sew with my serger, which I can do. I'm going to try and stream almost all the way through my transition to the new place. All right, here we go. Pin that in a few key places. I'm going to try and open this up while I start it. And I got to remember that it's 1/2 inch seams, which is so weird. Oh, I did unthread my needle. I'm looking forward to warmer month type sewing. All right. Now I got it started. Now I can kind of keep lining this up. And get rid of this pin. Here we go. Oh, you guys, so my YouTube banner is pretty much done. Hi, Louise. Okay, that's good to know. The light wave, yeah, was the Morgan. Yeah, so I don't know what I had. It's out there. My YouTube banner is done. I'm going to upload it after the stream. It's cute. I want to know what you guys think. She did such a cute job. I'm so excited. She's starting to do all my little things for me. Okay. Making sure I don't have any wrinkles. And that I keep it at my 1/2 inch seam. Well, it could be, Karen. I'm not sure. You know, I bought the boiled wool because I wanted it. But I'm not sure what I want to do with it. I'm kind of considering a tamarack and it being the inside of the tamarack. You know? I think that would be kind of cool. I don't really need another tamarack, but I was thinking I could alter it a little bit, but then it makes it so that it's different for people who want to sew it. But I did love like quilting the other one. It was so fun. It'd be fun to do something again. Maybe I would just do a different sleeve. I would definitely add a yoke to that, because I think having a yoke on that jacket in the back and having a pleat at the back, it would help with the like shoulder movement. All right, I'm gonna check it. Looks good. I would like to trim that, but yeah, I think I'm gonna trim this. I like 1/4 inch seams. I'm just a fan. I do not understand really wide seam allowances on necks. It makes the curve too stiff. It makes it not lay right. It's harder to sew. I like the maneuverability of 1/4 inch seams. Same with facings and all sleeveless garments. They should have 1/4 inch. It's standard. There's no reason that you need an extra 1/4 to 3/8 in a seam that you can't adjust for size. Yeah, it's the Wixton, by Wixton. Yeah, and that's how Malin spelled it. That's how you do that one, Eliza. Yeah, so you're waiting for me to finish that part? So now I'm going to clip the curve here. It's kind of hard to see. Making sure I'm not letting my shirt underneath sneak out. And just go right up to the seam line. I will leave wide seam allowance if it's going to, like if this is wide enough and this is wide enough and they're going to meet in the middle inside, sometimes I'll consider leaving it. I don't want it on this. I just don't. So, oh, I love that Callie shirt. I'm not a big fan of the armhole, of course, but I would try it. Yeah, me too, Eliza. I'm still trying to get in the swing of all the home sew patterns out there nowadays. All right, so this is the right side of my garment. You see that? It's the right side of my garment. I sew it from the inside, and then I'm going to top stitch it down on the outside. And then that way I know that the best looking seam is on the outside, but plus the collar's going to cover that up. And this sometimes shows more like when it's on the hanger or right here when your shirt's open right there, unbuttoned. You may call it cheating. I call it genius. The trick is not getting any torquing when you do this step. So I'm going to do it in a few key places. I put the fold just past the seam line so that when I stitch it down, it covers it up. I love this kind of finishing. Right, Melon? Oh, I've heard of the Sapporo. I'm going to look that up. I can't remember what it looks like now. This fabric's lightweight enough that I probably could have left all that excess seam allowance in there. It's a pretty soft fabric. It's going to be a little slouchier, and that's kind of what I want. I want something a little cozier and less boardy than my other one. My other one's a little thicker and stiffer. I'm looking for something a little softer. I always pin into the fold and perpendicular. So when I get to this point, I actually kind of open it up and then fold it like that so that it wraps around. I'm going to use my awl to refine that little spot right there when I get there and when I'm sewing it. Right now, I'm going to work on it a little bit. Like that. It looks a little lumpy right there. Not too into how it's looking. I'm going to try and combat the lumpiness. Right there. I could have been a little more accurate sewing it on the edge there. This is my outside, so this is what I'm concerned with now. I kind of want to take it apart right there. I'm going to take it apart just right a little bit. Sorry. Oh yeah, I've seen the Yates. I'm not I think they're good pattern drafters. I'm just not a big fan of a couple of their other coats. Like, they're not for me, and it might be an East Coast West Coast thing. I'm gonna put a buttonhole on the stand and at the top of the placket, Atrinka. Definitely. It's kind of, oh, dang it, my machine came undone. I gotta do that again. It's kind of, this fabric is a little hard to tell what's happening on the inside because of all this like white stitching. It's a little confusing. You can get rid of some of that. Always good to get rid of the old stitches so you can see right where you are. There we go. There we go, that looks a little better. A little flatter. You know? You have a fixation with buttonholes. Yeah, that Kelly anorak's pretty cool. I just don't need an anorak, you know what I mean? I'm kind of hoping that I can approach some fabric stores to say, hey, you know, are you trying to promote a certain pattern? How about you give me what you need to make it, and I will sew it. And then you will have like a live version of the pattern. And then they can keep the sample. Like, I don't have to keep it all because I don't need 52 new garments if I were to do one a week. You know what I mean? So I can't sustain that. So I feel like that might be a good way that they can get a store sample that'll be sewn pretty good. And they can say, hey, and if you want to watch how this was sewn, you can reference this YouTube channel. And then they're just out like sending me the stuff, you know. I haven't decided how I'm monetizing my channel yet. I just want to chill with it for a while. Which one's the Joy jacket? Yeah, sometimes cutting those things out can be pretty intimidating. All right, here we go. This is the right front, looking pretty good. My left front. I open it, fold it under, wrap it around, just like that. I think the pickup person's here. Hi, Julia. How's it going? Which shirt are you going to show, Trinka? A linen. Oh, linen and rayon. Ooh. That sounds nice. Karen. What are you up to, Julia? Trying to keep up with everyone at Stitches West? First Madrona, now Stitches. I am Frankensteining my way through this Archer. But, you know, you're new here, so you don't have to know all that. You can just think it's going beautifully. But I am kind of, you know, I'm still a little out of it. You're at the mall. Oh, you were at the mall. I hate the mall, too. Thankfully, my daughter kind of hates it now, too. She's like, I don't want to go there. I'm like, oh, finally. You are my daughter. Okay, here we go. Here's my collar stand. So that's the outside of the garment. This is the right side. I sewed the inside first. Looks so nice, doesn't it? All right, so when I start sewing this, I'm gonna start at the center back neck because part of my thing is that I don't really like seeing the start and stop of my machine right here because this is a focal point right here, the front of your neck. And so what I've learned is that I just put it at the back under my hair and the inside of the collar. Thanks, Julia. I cut this thing out like, when did I cut this out, you guys? I think like in October or November. And it's just been sitting here staring at me, and I wasn't supposed to stream this week, so I just thought, you know, I'm going to sew that because I don't want to not stream. All right, so here's my collar stand. I'm just going to start at the back somewhere. I'm not even going to backstitch to start. It's not necessary. And just in case I want to take it out, that's easier to remove. I don't want any torquing, so that's really all I'm concerned about right now. Now, if I get off with my stitching a little bit, it's no big deal. Bye, Malin. Oh, not Malin. Oh, bye, Adrinka. Malin saying bye. We'll see ya. So, it can be a little off because it's on the inside of my garment, and this is the outside, and I want this to look nicer. My preference. I'm kind of pulling apart the stand. I want to make sure I'm not getting any little bagginess wrinkles going this way. You know what I mean? Where's my awl? Now, when I get close to this point, I like to make sure that the collar stand upper fabric isn't getting pushed, that layer isn't getting pushed towards me. Remember, my machine has a tendency to do that. And so, because what would happen is this fabric would creep over the end here of the front of my placket, which would really bug me. So what I like to do is I kind of hold this fabric in here to make sure that that's not gonna happen. This fabric's not traveling traveling at all, and I did adjust the pressure of my presser foot the other day. Okay, so when I get to that corner, I'm gonna turn. I'm gonna get rid of my pins now, so they're not poking me. And now my whole shirt's gonna be on the inside of the head of my machine. It's the only awkward part about this. So I also want to make sure that this curve is looking kind of nice and smooth. It could be a little better. Because now I am immortalizing it, right? Okay, I'm getting there. I'm sorry, I got a postal person. Just making sure they're getting all my packages. Alright, so up here is a lot easier, pretty stable. It's already been sewn. I really pull this apart. I really want it to be flat, no torquing. This just comes from years of handling fabric. It just gets easier and easier. So now here I am getting to this point that I really care about, because this is right here. This is what shows when my collar is open. I don't typically button up my collars, but even if I did, it's still nice to have this finished. So this curve looks a little weird right here. I'm gonna pull on this. Let's see. Make sure that the curve is gonna be there. It looks a little flat to me. Push that seam allowance in there. I'm really skint on the seam allowance there, like right on the edge, just so I can get one extra stitch in there. All right, we're back to the original open edge here. I feel like I'm just below the seam line. I am edge stitching it to open edge. Yeah, Julia, I don't like hand sewing. If you haven't heard. And you know what? I probably did the hand sewing on the first couple, then I was like, oh, heck no, I'm not doing that anymore. So this little fold edge is just past. Here's my original seam line. You can hardly see it, I know. Oh, this is already becoming a problem, these little stitches. So I know that if I put this fold just past that, and then I stitch to the right of it, I'll cover it up and it'll probably land pretty much on the collar. So that's how I do binding. That's how I'm going to do this. I'm pulling it apart, making sure that I'm not going to get any weird bagging, and I'm done. I find this to be the easiest way to do this. Here, just a second. Okay, sorry. All right, so yay, my packages are picked up. Okay, so there we go. See that little folding that happens? That's because my presser foot is split. I really love home sewing machine presser foots that are straight across the front, and so your fabric can't slip into this groove. Mine does that when I get too close to the edge. There we go. This is the outside. So let's see how I did on the inside. Not bad. I don't know if you guys can see. Here's my little start stop. So there's my little tail gone. It's not on my collar stand. See, I missed it here, but it doesn't matter. It's already been sewn once. This is the outer shirt. Here's my collar. Let's see how it looks. Since I've been Frankensteining the heck out of this thing. Here we go. There's that open collar right there. Once it's pressed, it'll probably look a little nicer. Not bad. What do you guys think? It's not bad, huh? See, my collar stands match pretty good. This curves a little flat. And so when you make one of these kinds of collars, you want this to end in the middle of your placket. See, this line ends up in the middle of the placket because technically you are overlapping your collar stand like that, and that goes around your neck. So there's a little button here and then one up here. The spacing of these buttons and buttonholes is it's different on every one. What I would do is look at a shirt in your closet if you have something similar and see what you like, because a lot of home sewing placements, thanks, Melinda, they're not right. And so what I also would do is try it on and then put a pin where you want your buttons, because the thing is, like, if you are leaving your shirt unbuttoned and your first one is here, this is kind of high up, you want one here for sure, and then if there's one here, your next one might not be here, and that might be a little weird, right? So most of the time what you'll see is one here and then not another one till like right here. Other times you see one here, here, and then they're between 2 and 3 inches apart depending on the size of the button. The smaller the button, the closer they are. I'll tell you in a second, Julia. So if you have a big button, they can be closer together. Typically, I find that almost every time, even though I don't design it this way, my buttons are spaced about 2 3/4 of an inch wide. And that could be because I'm using roughly the same size button every time, and because I only have a certain number of them. And so what I do is I will place one here and then one at the bottom. And then what I do is I figure out how many buttons I have left to place on there. And I count the number of spaces between the buttons, not the buttons themselves. And then I divide that measurement between those two to top and the bottom, I divide it by the number of spaces to get the inches between. So say this was 18 inches between the top button and the bottom button, and I had 6, let's say I had 5 more buttons to place. There would be 6 spaces. I would take that 18 divided by 6, and that would be 3 inches apart. And I know I just did that math really quickly, but what you can do is just draw yourself a picture. So the yes, exactly. That's true, Ida. On a shirt like this that's a little looser, you're not going to have to worry about that too much unless you have a really tight bust. And so when you're doing a dress or a bodice or a fitted shirt, you really want to make sure that you make your button spacing based on one right here at the fullest part of your bust, as Ida called it, the apex height. The apex is the highest part of your bust, the fullest part. Yeah, and exactly, Eliza. Yeah, you guys are both right. So absolutely is what I do on my dresses and all my fitted shirts. This shirt's pretty loose. It's more of a modeled after a men's tailored shirt. So you have some leeway. But yeah, you want one here, and then you're going to figure out your spacing. And sometimes it's awkward. So you just don't be too hard on yourself, but definitely make the buttons evenly spaced. Now you can have a spacing different on your bodice than your skirt. If you have a bodice going to a skirt a little bit different, that's okay. But if you don't have to do it that way, I would recommend not doing it that way. I would make it all evenly because it's gonna bug you. So Julia, the thing, I cut this out so long ago, and then we decided to use the inside of the fabric for the yoke, which meant that you can tell that's a stripe. So then I had to trim the bottom edge to make it so that it sewed in a straight, looks like a straight line. So that was a little bit of Frankensteining there. And then when I sewed the yoke seam, I did the darndest thing. I sewed my side seam of my shirt as my yoke seam. So, and I didn't realize it till I went to take a picture of it for after our stream for Instagram, and I was like, what is going on here? Why is my armhole curved? And I was like, that looks like the hem. Gee, that is the hem. So I just pulled that out and put it back in. And I had already like trimmed the armhole to fit the other yoke seam because it was a little bit off. And because, you know, I'm just kind of, it's a casual sew through. All right, so this is looking really good. We're to our sleeves now and doing some French seams. I know Atrinka was interested in those, right? Or it was Siobhan, which I Googled how to say her name because I wanted to know. Right, Julia? I know. It just happens. So here are my sleeves. I like to do I like to attach all the cuffs and everything onto my sleeves first before I attach the sleeves. That way there's less to deal with. So this is my left sleeve because here is the single knot. Oh no, that's a double notch. Never mind. This is my right sleeve, which makes sense because you see the slit is on the back. So when you have a shirt with a cuff, the slit is on the back of your arm because you're putting your cuff, buttoning it from front to back. So that's how that works. So first I'm going to do the bias right here, the bias finishing. This fabric is so funny, isn't it? It's kind of thready. So I'm going to do it from inside to outside. Like this. Oh man, I keep on threading my needle. I think the tail is a little short from the thread clip. I don't want it longer though. I would rather thread my needle occasionally. So this is cut on the bias, so there's a lot of stretch. There's the green of the other shirt I cut out when I cut this one out. And that's my pivot point. It'd be a little easier to do this on the other side. I'm going to go to that pivot point, turn, and then finish up. I did it from the right side to wrong side. Oh, let me back stitch that. Let's see if I got my pivot pretty good right there. Make sure I didn't come in shallow. And then just like binding it basically. Turn and top stitch. Oh, it's only noon, so he came early. Good. He told me he was going to come at 1. Good. I was like, oh, wait, is it 1? Because I have to go at 1:30. We're celebrating birthdays today. Not mine. Okay. One of these days, I will sew a proper shirt sleeve placket for you guys. They're really fun. Kind of like when I did the placket on the I can't remember the name, forgetting the name of that shirt. The Cheyenne tunic, that one. Kind of that kind of placket, but on the sleeve. All right, now I'm going to sew the underarm seam on this one. So I'm going to do it wrong sides together first because I'm doing French seams. And then we'll turn it and do it the other way. Now we're finally like in the groove. Make sure I didn't get too shallow over there. So I'm going to trim these little like hairs here because they'll just make my life easier when I turn this seam the other way to do the other French seam. You know? Because when those poke out and then you go to trim them after you've sewn it, you have the danger of cutting your seam that you just sewed. I don't know how I would know that. What's a tower placket? Wait a minute. Oh, I got this fabric. No one's asked. At my local fabric store, Honey Run Quilters in Chico. There's still some there too. I love it. It's amazing. It's so soft. I mean, it's not soft like flannel. It's just like, it's nice and squishy, but it still has body because of all the stitching. Isn't it great? I love it. I've been looking forward to this shirt. It's kind of a bummer that it's been sitting here cut. And I have a shirt similar in my closet, and I keep forgetting that it's not this. I'm like, no, this is that store-bought one that doesn't fit me that great. So it looks like I'm not matching my stripes, but this is the wrong side, and technically it's polka dots. Stitched polka dots. I feel like that this is a, I can't remember the fabric, but it's nice that it's woven, yarn dye woven. All right, so there is my French seam. Ready, because I have to do the underarm before I do the cuff. Because the cuff starts and stops at the placket, not the underarm seam. So the other little tip I'm going to do on this placket is I'm going to fold it like this, and I'm going to stitch across the top of it. It'll just make it lay better. See right there, I just did a little triangle right there. There we go. Yeah, that's a called a I said shirt sleeve placket. So you know, there's another kind of placket you can put right here that's a shirt sleeve. I'm totally spacing the name of that placket because it's like a half placket. It doesn't go all the way through to the hem. It stops right here, and I call that style Johnny collar, which probably dates me. It's a very 80s, 90s term that I think like one of the big designers came up with, like Ralph Lauren or something. I have a mix right now, Louise. I pretty much every day wear something I've made, though, just because I have so many that it's hard to avoid. Not that I would avoid it, but like today I'm completely in Me Made. I think I have my Mountain View pull-on jeans on. This is the Astor shirt by Colette. I love this. It's a great go-to pattern. I try not to make them all the time. And then, yeah, I knit this shawl. It's in Brooks yarn. It's a gradient. And I don't know the designer, sorry. I can't remember. So, I'm terrible. But yeah, I do. I mean, I've sewn so many things for the stream now that I do have quite a selection, which is awesome. I love it. My only complaint about home sewn things is that a lot of them require a little bit more ironing. So they're not like grab and go. But I actually don't mind ironing. It's just more of a time thing. I don't mind ironing or doing dishes, but I don't like to cook. Of the domestic duties in the world, that's my list. Just checking my pivot, making sure, because you know when you do this, the seam allowance gets really narrow right here. You pivot at the slit. The seam allowance matches at the bottom. And it's at an angle. I don't know if you can see that. See that? Because of the bias, it makes it lay nice. I think a lot of folks are starting to sew more their clothes. You don't have to watch them all, Karen. But it's just really fun when people are here live. And if there's something you're looking for that I've sewn, definitely check it out. Maybe the past videos will help. They're just not fast, you know? So if you're like, oh gosh, I have to listen to this chit chat, you know, at least you can fast forward it. Where is that? There's more of that green. I thought I was going to get to have that shirt over the holidays and wear it, but apparently they get to keep it until all that fabric's gone. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll see it next Christmas. Yeah, Nancy, you know, this fabric that I'm wearing is like a chambray. I love it. So wearable. Quilted cotton would not be my first choice. It's too boardy, unless you cut it on the bias. But then you have a whole host of other things to consider when you're sewing it together if it's on the bias. All right, while this is not, the underarm's not sewn, I'm gonna do my little triangle at the top there. Trim the threads. It just makes it lay nicer, see that? And then this will actually get turned back, and then it sits like that. That's the placket. Don't have to have the fancy shirt sleeve placket. It's nice. Yeah, right, Julia? That's exactly it. Oh, wow, Julia. That's awesome, but yeah, that is, I mean, especially when you're handmaids. It's kind of a bummer. All your wardrobe requires ironing. I know. I actually don't mind it, you know? It's just like, yeah, like I said, like if I don't have the time, I'm like, egads, don't I have something in knit? Because I had some t-shirts in knit, and then my daughter kind of took a couple, and then a couple I'm just like, they don't really work this time of year, and I don't really want to buy anymore, you know? That's kind of been my, like, my weakness is just buying, like, t-shirts, you know, that are already made because they're so easy. And it's hard to find, you know, t-shirt fabric that I really like. All right, so I'm doing my, I did that right? Yeah. Wrong sides together first. Trim it. Get rid of the little hairs so they don't poke out of my seam. Aw. Yeah, selfish sew. I think it's funny when I feel like when we learn a new hobby or craft like knitting or sewing, and probably crochet as well, for some reason when we're a beginner we do it for other people so much, and I don't know why that is, because our skill level is not quite where it could be, you know. And then when I get better at the craft, I'm like, no way, I'm doing all this for me. It's so much work. In a way, it's kind of nice because we end up with the better of our efforts. But that also means we've been giving away not the better of our efforts. All right, so here's my sleeves. Let's see here. Let's put in my side seams on my shirt. I like to set my sleeves in. I'm kind of a stickler for that. You'll learn that about me. I just really like set-in sleeves, and I think they lay better. They work better if you set it in as a round armhole. And by set in, I mean that the side seam is sewn prior to putting in the sleeve. Right? Yeah, Malin, totally. And you know, I know it takes longer to sew for ourselves, but it starts piling up pretty quickly. And I hate shopping too. I really don't like it. And I don't feel really that hard to fit, but I think it's just knowing too much. I don't like it. And you know, I feel like less and less there are stores that cater to adults, and it's mostly to younger people. Especially at places like a mall. But like the independent stores downtown, they're pretty great, but I live in a college town, so they cater to college sizing. And apparently, Mommy and Daddy's pocketbook for a budget. Not mine, but theirs. Yeah, that's great. The School of Making Cotton Jersey. Is the School of Making a fabric store? Yeah, sewing is way faster than knitting. That's funny, Nancy. They're like, hey, yeah, my daughter will say something like, hey, did you make that? I'll be like, that. She's like, oh, that's nice. And I'm like, yeah, pause off. Don't you dare. So this is an issue with this fabric. So I lost a couple dots there. Gotta be careful. That's sometimes what happens when you cut it out and it sits in the bin for too long. Things like that start happening. Kind of like knits. The knit edges start rolling and they become really hard to deal with. I will not cut knits out unless I absolutely know I'm sewing it the next couple days. I'm going to trim this a little more. These scissors are nice and sharp. Ooh, that's a little short. Oh well. So when you sew French seams, I've said this before, you should press them at this point and then sew the next part. I'm totally speeding through this. You'll get a better result. On other fabrics, you would most likely want to do that. This is pretty forgiving though. Oh, Alabama Shannon. Okay. That's cool. Okay. All right, so now we're going to do our other side, finish the side seams on both sides. Yeah, I feel like this is one of the companies, like regular old fabric companies that started releasing some yarn dye garment weights. I want to say like Robert Kaufman or someone like that, or Moda. No one from Honey runs in the stream right now to tell me. But if you guys really want to find out, I can just ask them. I go there. Yeah, I saw that, Louise. Yeah, talk about hand stitching, exactly. They're doing more by machine. Oh, yeah. I love her. Yeah, she's awesome. I feel like so, you know, I've been doing this for a while, right? And I was in the garment industry for a while. The home sew industry was not where it's at now. It was pretty much, you know, the big pattern companies, which thankfully we had those, you know, like McCall's, Simplicity, Vogue, Butterick. And then there'd be like a new pattern company on the scene, like Berta. And we were all like, yay, a new pattern company. And then there were a few independent businesses, but not so much. Yeah, that's why I have not done any Alabama Shannons. I don't like hand stitching. I'm like, that's nice. That looks great for you. I like slow fashion, but I don't like hand sewing. Can I do that by machine? Oh, I just worried that was a snag on my thing. All these little white pieces of linen. I'm like, oh no, my back yoke's getting snagged. But, and so then, you know, I had my own company doing pattern drafting for people for 11 years. Like, I did that freelance for a long time. Oh, I need my cuffs. Where are my cuffs? Here they are. Always check the floor. And then I got out of that and I was going to start this pattern company where you could make a block or use my block and then alter it to fit you and also alter it to the style you wanted. That was my whole idea. But, you know, the thing is, the home sewing world was not ready for this 11 years ago. It would have fizzled. I would have done it and it wouldn't have done well, you know? So, you know, that's just the sad truth of it. I mean, maybe it would have worked, but I don't have the kind of, like, social media. There was no social media, let's be honest. Like, it's not like what it is today. And even still, like, I don't have that kind of presence or people around me to help me promote things like that, you know? So, I'm glad I didn't do that in one way. I wish I would have in other ways. All right, so here's my cuffs. I'm using stealth for the interfacing still. I'm just going to put them right sides together so I don't have to look at those lines because they're a little too hard on the eye for me when I'm sewing. So then I started chicken boots. That kind of like was a side thing and it took over. And now I'm doing this. Like, I feel like seeing gaming streams, I was like, I want to bring this to sewing. I wasn't even sure if it was in sewing. Okay, where are my sleeves? And maybe now a pattern company like that would work, but I'm not sure that's what I want to do. Oh, that's cool. Is Blueprint like a Craftsy or Creative Bug? Is that what Blueprint is? I've heard of Blueprint. Someone was just talking about it. All right, so I'm going to do my same method where I start on the inside and go to the outside. But let's see here. This is the front, this is the back. So I'm just going to turn my placket back because it's going to go like this. It's going to overlap like that. See? So I need to fold this back like that. And I'm just going to do that now so it stays that way. Yeah, I was hanging out with Laura Zander. She owns Jimmy Bean's Wool, and she was working on an Alabama Shannon skirt. She was stitching it up. It was pretty fun. Oh, Craftsy changed their name? How did I miss that? They were across from me at Stitches West last year, and they were still called Craftsy. What the heck? Maybe, are they called The Real Blueprint on Instagram? Is that who that is? That's Craftsy? Oh, man. Okay, so let's see here. We have pleats. I'm so clueless. I really need a social media manager that keeps me in the know. I use my friend Brooke a lot. She's up to speed, but I can't keep her doing, you know, she can't keep tabs on all the sewing stuff. She's in this knitting world. She does a better job on sewing stuff than I do. Oh, awesome, Nancy. Thank you. That's nice to hear. I feel like this is kind of what people are craving. They don't know it. We just got to make them try it out because I don't think people understand it because it's not really common, you know? All right, so here's my sleeve. See? So when you fold your pleats over, then you have this little placket fold over, and it just looks like 3 pleats. It's really sweet. Let's see if it matches my cuff, because it might not because of the Frankensteining that we are all about on this. Fingers crossed. Oh, no, it's a little short. My cuff is a little short, but that's because I made the cuff smaller, so that's okay. We're just going to put, I'm going to put an extra pleat in there. Thanks, Karen. Crafty became Blueprint. Okay. That was on TV. Yeah, you know, when people are like, what, you make knitting accessories? I'm like, there's more knitters than golfers. And they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, we're not messing around, people. All right, let me see here. So I made my cuff smaller because that is one thing about this pattern I've noticed repeatedly is that the cuff is really huge on me. The sleeves are pretty huge on me, and I'm a little klutzy, so I feel like I notice it probably a little more, and I don't really like that. So I always make the cuff a little bit smaller. Actually, a lot smaller. I'm not going to lie. I make it a lot smaller. A standard cuff circumference is usually 8.5 to 9 inches. So, all right, where is it? This is my back, so that's my back. I'm going to push that way. Oh, thanks, Eliza. Thanks, Melinda. You guys are awesome. We just need to make people try it out, you know? And eventually they'll understand. We'll have a really nice community here. And maybe I can figure out how to keep it going. That's my goal this year. We'll see. I get lots of suggestions all the time, but I just kind of want to see what I want. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's some really obvious ways for me to keep this going because I don't want to keep paying for all of my things out of my pocket. They're my clothes though, so it doesn't matter in that way. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I did make the cuff smaller when I cut it out, Louise. I just know that I need to do that. And then I just added an extra pleat to match because I knew that that would work. It wasn't, I did trim down the sleeve volume a little bit. So I just know that, you know, the pleats could be a little better. I'm going to roll these up all the time. But I think, like, you know what I've noticed is, like, I'm just going to be really honest with you guys because I kind of like hearing you guys' feedback too. And I really want this to be positive and helpful and still enjoyable. I just want to sew. I just want to sew and share my knowledge. And I don't need a huge salary at this point. Like, I'm fine. You know, I just want to do this. That's what I want to do. So I think, like, oh, I have to sew this on. Oh, I did that right sides together. Oh, it means I have to sew it the old way. This is what I've noticed. We've made a lot of things here in the last few months, right? And I tag pattern companies and stuff, and I don't expect to get noticed. I'm really small. I think they can look at my Instagram followers and go, and my YouTube and go, small potatoes. I don't really need to pay attention. I don't do that as Chicken Boots. I do check things out. I don't sponsor certain things for a reason, though, and that is a whole nother thing. But I would like them to at least say, hey, check this out, like, check it out and see and let me know what they think, you know? I think pattern companies are scared what I might be saying or doing, or if I'm not good enough, or I may be sewing it differently and they don't like that. And I totally understand that. But the thing is, most of us at home are not sewing it exactly how the pattern instructions are. And I think that that's why I like modeling that, you know? And I want them to feel comfortable. But if they're not, and we've had one pattern designer join us, and that was a dossier, right? And that was really fun. I don't expect them to do that. I really don't. That was a huge treat that she did that and gave us her feedback. And I had one other pattern drafter, I think it was the Cheyenne Tunic, give me some feedback too, which was awesome. But the thing is, like, maybe that's not my way to go about it. That's why I'm thinking maybe just asking fabric companies, hey, do you need a sample for your store? Are you trying to, did you just get a bunch of bag kits in and you'd really like to show people how awesome this bag kit is? So that's what I think I'd like to see. But I'm just not going to worry about it yet. And maybe you guys will give me some ideas, or maybe someone else will give me ideas. So, I don't know. We'll see, right? Well, that's awesome, Nancy. Thank you. That's so sweet. Yeah, so I really want to figure out a way for us also to become social. I'm on Facebook, but I'm not on Facebook. I'm trying to do my cuff right now. I'm not a big fan of it, but I feel like that's where the most people are. So, like, say I have a, like, last week I couldn't stream, right? I was at a show. I announced that on Instagram at some point, but I didn't really, like, push it. I should have probably said it again, but I was so busy at the show I forgot. And this population isn't really on Twitter, which is where most streamers announce things like that. They do it on Twitter. Like, oh, hey, I'm live right now. Or, hey, I'm sick today. I can't stream. So I need that place. I need that community place for that. Because I don't like it when I hear people say, hey, I stopped by your stream today and you weren't there, you know? And I get really sad when I hear that. They're like, I thought you were live today. And I'm like, I usually am. I'm really sorry, you know? That's why I didn't want to not be live this week. I don't want to miss out on all these folks checking us out, you know, right now. All right. The thing about using interfacing as your cuff is it's hard to distinguish one from the other. So I'm going to turn this right side out, and I'm going to use this to match my other side. That's why I'm trimming this. So I have noticed that there's an app through my, yeah, right, Nancy? I like Instagram a lot. It's not a news feed, though, and it's not in chronological order. So that's a problem for an Instagram. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Louise. Yeah, but it's just like people, of course, want to check it out, but, you know, it's not in their daily social media rounds, right? We are usually checking other things, not YouTube. And the demographic that I'm going after isn't on YouTube as much as other demographics. Yeah, just how it is. So I'm matching my cuff right now. This is one thing I keep failing on when I make this shirt is I don't pay attention to my cuff width from one cuff to the other. And then they're asymmetrical. That's really not, you know, okay. Yeah, right, Malin? That's how I feel too. So I noticed that my website has an app that I can get. So I'm curious what you guys think about this, where I can actually create a social page on my website, but it would be one more website for you guys to check, you know? But it would be a place for you guys to post pictures or see updates, interact with each other, and I would make it password protected as well so we don't get people going in there. And I think like that might be a good opportunity to, I might try it out. Maybe I'll do like I'll let you all know when I do it, and we'll do like a 2-week free trial, see what we think. So, all right, so here's my cuff. I also make my cuffs narrower. The cuffs on the Archer are really wide. They're almost historical costuming wide. That's my only funny thing I would say about the Archer, is that they're a little bit big. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Nancy, but not everybody's on Facebook. Yeah, exactly, Ida. I know. So I might do both, but I just kind of want to see what you guys are willing to even try. You know, like, oh, I need to know, are they live today or not? Where would you go if you were trying to figure out if I was live? If you went to YouTube and I wasn't here, where would you go first to find out? Is she streaming today? I want to know. Because for me, I know that if I'm looking for a gamer or another streamer, I go to Twitter because that's what they prefer. And my Twitter is really calm. Like, I hardly follow anybody. I don't post really anything. It's easy for me to navigate. That's all I look for. I look up the person. I don't think Twitter's in chronological order either. It might be. So, this would be a good opportunity to hand sew your cuffs because I sewed them the old-fashioned way. I call it the old-fashioned way. You would go to Instagram? Okay, that's good to know. Because we could just do that. Like, keep the Instagram thing. I'll look into a Facebook group. I'm going to look into the community tab. Like, there's a community tab on YouTube. Like, if you go right now to my profile, there's a community tab. I don't think anyone's noticed it. I had Brooke go on there and look at it. Instagram and Twitter confuse you. Yeah, I can understand that, Eliza. So maybe I don't mind having 2 different places. You created a Twitch account. Ooh, Nancy. I'm so excited. I'm going to try that out. Okay. Okay, Ida. Good, good, good. Okay, so Instagram's no problem for me. That's second nature. This is going to not... You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stitch it from this side, even though I pinned it on this side. That's what I'm going to do right now. Oh, but I don't want my back stitch there. Hey, Julia, I play Fortnite. Hi, Leslie. You go to Instagram too. Okay, good. Good to know, you guys. Okay, so would you go to my profile and look at that, or would you go to my posts? You have the feeling you'd have an account everywhere. I love Twitch. I was watching Twitch before I started today. I was watching someone play this game that is based in Greece during, like, mythology times. You can't figure out how to post. Maybe we could do a primer on doing stuff like that. I'm in this sewing club locally, and there's a few other gals that are like, okay, I'm gonna try out Instagram. And I was thinking, like, I'm not an expert, but I do feel like my level of use might appeal to some of them there, and maybe I would do like a little primer on how to do it. So when you use self fabric as interfacing, I will say, when it's folded over on the inside like that, you want to make sure that you're catching the fold of the interfacing on the inside. Nancy, it's hard. Are you surprised that I play Fortnite, Julia? I'm trash at it, by the way. Yeah, I play both game modes. It's not my favorite game. I play it a lot because my friends play, and we all get triggered playing it. We all, like, a few of my friends are really, really, really good at it. But me and my girlfriend that I play with, we just laugh like, yeah, here we are. We don't play that. What's SWTOR? Wait, I have to figure that out. You would check my posts. Okay, good. Thank you, Mullen. Yeah, but yeah, I was watching this Greek one today. You play as Cassandra. I don't know if you've watched a lot of mythology. Or not watched, I mean read. I've read a lot of mythology. Everything from youth books to everything. I really like mythology. I'm not an expert, but I've read a lot of mythology. So it doesn't look as good in there because I did it from the outside, but the outside is more preferred anyway, right? So let's try and do the other one my usual way. And so see, this goes over that. There's my cuff. This is kind of gushy, so, you know, that I'm not a big fan of that. I could have done better here. Always, right? Star Wars, The Old Republic. Oh. I don't know what that, I have not heard that. I mean, I've heard of the one that came out called Battle something. It's either Battlefront or Battlefield. I get confused. I thought I was a real big Star Wars fan until I met real big Star Wars fan. I was like, oh yeah, I'm not. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. And I don't play any Harry Potter games, but it's why I started gaming. All right, let's do this one. Oakley dokley. All right, we're going to pin this. Oh, I think I might. They're going to look asymmetrical, but I'm still going to do it. Okay, so let's see here. I need to pin my pleats. Yeah, I'm liking like single player games more and more, Julia. Fewer kids I have to deal with. I have nothing against kids, you guys, but hey, when I want to relax, I don't really want to deal with some 12-year-old kid talking trash to me. And then they hear I'm a girl, and then it's all over. They're like, oh my God, a girl. I'm like, yes. And then I sometimes have to play the mom card and be like, sweetie, I'm old enough to be your mom. Stop talking like that to me. It happens. Kids are awful. I can't believe. Yeah, the gaming world's definitely shaken my view of how kids really talk and act in public. I do buttons and buttonholes on my home machine. I do. They're not on this machine. This machine doesn't have zigzag, and I have to do it on my home machine. All right, so let's get this spacing a little better. A little easier to get that spacing. So I just took up the slack, made a third pleat. Before, what I did was I would make these two pleats bigger. But what I'm finding is it's making it more balloony, you know? Yeah, I know, Eliza. Kids are, oh God. Oh, I don't like making the cuff first. I should have mentioned that, Liz. I don't like making it first because there's room for it to get, I feel like it gets torqued more often when I do it that way. I like to just do it right here, and then that way I know that I can correct anything as I go. And you guys know how I like to correct things as I go. All right, so I'm going to do it wrong sleeve, wrong side to cuff right side. Because I want to sew it my usual way. I want it to look nicer than the other one. What's going on here? Oh, here we go. I think I got that caught on something. Let me see here. That's not my seam allowance. Let's see. Here we go. It's always good to look ahead and see what's happening. So there's that little pleat I'm making. There we go. That looks a little better. Trying to get the spacing about the same as those. It's not a very big distance there, so see how it's pulling? So just focus on what you're doing. What's under your needle right in front of you. Don't worry about it's pulling. I know it's stressful. Yeah, right, Julia? Yeah, I could tell stories. I really should have started a blog when I'm doing the Archer. Dara Nicole, that's a nice name. We're talking about gaming right now. I out myself all the time on here that I like to game. All right, so this is the inside of my sleeve. Looks good. And then, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, sometimes when I'm playing, like, Fortnite, and I go into, like, a random squad with people, I sometimes don't talk for a bit until I absolutely have to. And then sometimes it's just too much that I'm a girl. And I'm not a girl, I'm a woman, you know? So it's like, sometimes I'll be like, you're the first girl I've ever met playing Fortnite. And you know, what I've learned is when I do the random squad thing, I go later at night. Like I go like past 8 p.m. and then there's fewer kids because bedtime. Hopefully they have parents saying, hey, it's bedtime. Okay, so this one I sewed over here. I just sewed it, the end, raw edges matching. Did you notice on the other cuff that I did, oh yeah, Carol, I have a friend that has the VR. Did you get nauseous doing that? So the other one I sewed with this edge folded down first. I'm going to do this one differently. I used to have a way that I really loved doing this, and I just can't remember how that is, which way that is. Oh, but did I do that right? Oh, I did it I did this wrong, the wrong way, though. I knew that seemed weird when I did it, but I couldn't figure out why, because I was talking. I put my interfacing both right side out. Yeah, I'm worse in a group too, Karen. So much better. And you get nauseous, Carol? Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I know. See, that's the thing, Julia. I love the international part of it because the servers in some countries they're not populated enough, so they come to ours. And I have met so many people. I could speak Spanish full time in almost any game I play if I wanted, because there's so many Spanish speaking people. I love it. Okay, that's right sides together. Okay, so this one's going to be folded down. That one's not. I need to do that right sides together. It looked right sides together before, but it just wasn't. Seam ripper. It's been out a few times today, hasn't it? All right, I'm matching the width of my cuff right now. Why not do it now rather than later when I have to pull it apart, right? Hey, thinking ahead. I think I only have one other place on my shirt that I need to worry about that, and that will be the placket. All right, so here we go. Yeah, I play with a guy that's in Australia and one in Great Britain. The guy I play with in Australia plays with the girl from Singapore. And I play with her sometimes. Most of the people I play with are not in California. That's really awesome. All right. I'm going to turn my sleeve the other way so it's a little easier to handle because I'm sewing this on the cuff on the right side. So this is the right side of the sleeve right here that I sewed. I sewed the cuff to the wrong side and now I'm folding it onto the right side. So that's why I don't really like folding it first, is that it does make it a little thicker at this point. But I did find that that got a little more accurate than the other way. I just have to remember how I used to like to do it. Okay. All right, so my homework for us right now is I'm gonna find something for next week to sew. These cuffs are sewn. The polka dots look like they're on a different grain line. I think they are. And then eventually I'm gonna look at the social thing. I'll be better about posting any. Bye, Ida. I'll be better about posting my schedule and changes. I don't use stories. Otherwise, I would probably do it there so it's not on my timeline. But I don't think everyone looks at stories. So I don't think it's a reliable place to inform people important things. So now I'm finishing off like selling all my inventory right now, and then I'm going to be sewing the materials. And once all that's done, I'm going to focus on this, focus on you guys full time. You did, Julia? That's awesome. Yeah, I think a few people bought it, which is really cool. I'm so happy. I want to make another. It's so funny, like I don't usually think about breaking the rules of sewing a pattern in knit when it's meant for woven, but hers make me want to do that for some reason. I think it's just like the lines and the casualness, you know? Oh, that'd be great, Julia. You bought it too, Malin? That's awesome. I know someone else did, I saw too. That's cool. I'm so glad, you guys. She's so lovely. I saw she's getting ready for lambing season and she has something like 18 ewes that are going to have lambs. I had no idea she had sheep. That must be where her yarn comes from. Okay, here's my cuff. I'm going to start it on the side seam right there so I don't have a start-stop at my cuff. I can do this a little more confidently because I'm on the outside. And I'm going to use my awl to make this not creep over the edge. It's trying to. I like to do the whole cuff at one time so it's continuous. Plus you're going to do it anyway, right? Yeah, we did the gray Dobby double gauze. Very hobby double gauze. I kind of knew what you meant, but I didn't know what you meant. Great. So we made that, the Thea Rochelle raglan, right before I left. It was really fun to sew. I broke the rules and I made the sleeves out of a knit. And I love wearing it. It's not long enough for a dress. For some reason I thought it would be. So I wore it over like a short skirt and some tights. It was awesome. I didn't get a single picture. Sorry. Oh, I know. I think I saw that too, Julia. That was really cute. Okay, here's my cuff. So what do you guys think? This one look better than this one? It looks about the same, huh? This fabric's so gushy, so it's looking a little thick right here. I might go back and fix that. Okay, so let's put our sleeves on. It's kind of our last step. Yeah, exactly. And there's a video 2 weeks ago today, I think. Was it really just 2 weeks ago or is it 3 weeks ago? Yay, Nancy, you're going to make your kimono. I would love to do that next week. I wonder if I could do that. I'm going to look at my needle sharp things. Okay, so here is my shirt. And then, let's see. Looking for my notches. One single notch. That's my right hand sleeve because the front, one notch means front. It's the front of my arm. And we're going to sew it with French seam. So let me think about this. I'm going to do wrong sides together first. And I want to do it from the inside. So we're going to flip my sleeve wrong side out. Because I like sewing on the sleeve side of things. And I like sewing from the inside circumference because I don't have a free arm on my machine. Yeah, I saw you said that, Nancy. Did you, was yours the only one that got shorted? I ordered a different fabric for the lining. I asked her if I could buy the fabric from another box for my lining, and if she would just keep the other one, she let me do that, which was really nice. I paid for it. I didn't like just say, can I swap, you know, fabric from one box to the other, because I know that would be probably a big no-no. Okay, so my sleeve needs easing. Can you see that? So we're going to put in our easing stitch. This is why I love set-in sleeves, because I'm going to make the sleeve a little longer, or the stitch a little longer. Set-in sleeves need to be bigger than the armhole they're being sewn to so that they are comfortable to wear. You need to account for the gush right here of your arm. Yep, doing French seams. So you put in a temporary stitch on your sleeve. Let's see, I think I want to pull this from the wrong side today. So I'm going to pull my bobbin thread. It's really easy to pull, so I got to make sure I don't pull it all from one side, because if I do, it might just pull all the way through. I love doing this, Dara Nicole. Like, I'm kind of a geek about the sleeves. I really love set-in sleeves. Easy peasy. I'm even doing it with a French seam. Probably using a few pins. All right, so let's see if that'll be enough. So you see all that tightness there, but I still have a nice smooth line. So I'm going to evenly distribute it. So the edge is ruffled, but you can already see, you see that little like shape I'm getting for the cap of the sleeve? Hubba hubba. Yeah, so that's what I like. I think I did it on something, Nancy. Okay, so wrong sides together. I'm gonna push my seams to my side seams to the back. I'm actually gonna push my sleeve seam to the front just because we're doing French seams, and I would really like this thickness to be a little bit easier to deal with. So let's see. All right, we've got that one anchor there. Not sure I still have a notch at the top because of all my Frankensteining. So my first pass through, I'm not going to sew at the full seam allowance. And I want most of my easing to be at the top of the sleeve, not down here in the armhole. So just kind of slide it up. If you have too much, let it go somewhere. I feel like I have too much right now, so I'm just going to see how much I need to get rid of. It was so easy to draw that up. There we go. All right, I'm going to get it started, and then I'm going to adjust. I don't need to back tack quite yet. The other, I did it. Yeah, I thought I did it. Autocorrect. I I know, right? Especially in chats, like that's the worst because you're like, oh my gosh, I just said that in front of all these people. Because I've done that. All right, so there's my armhole. I think I can release a little bit more. I didn't really need to ease as much as it looked like originally, did I? So my first stitch is going to be to the right of my easing stitch, which is a little awkward. But you can actually stitch over some of the little gathers you're making. That's fine. Oh, I need to put my stitch seam with length, sorry, back down. Okay. It's okay if you go over some of those gathers and you get little pleats because that they need to happen there. On the seam line, you don't do it. We'll make sure we don't have them on the seam line, just in the seam allowance. Where'd all that easing go? Like, I feel like now I don't need it. It looked so big, didn't it, a second ago? Dang. My shirt's getting all corkscrewed. There's my notches. There we go. You don't want the easing to happen in the armhole at the bottom, just along the cap. I'm just going to do a 1/4 inch seam here. I just keep walking it from the bottom to the top, making sure that I'm not pushing any extra to the bottom because it's really easy to ease at the bottom. You're glued to the screen. It's really easy to ease along the bottom because you have all this bias here. See, that's not where you want it though. You need it across your bicep. That's what it's for. Okay. So now I'm going to trim all these little, all the fur. Thread fur. I'm also going to make sure my seam allowance is pretty even. Okay, remember the first pass through is my seam. This is my easing stitch, not that. So get rid of all these little fibers here. It'll just be easier later so I don't accidentally cut my seam trying to trim some of these. Some fabrics don't do this as much, like all the little threads. They're a little easier to deal with. Okay, so now right sides together. So here's my sleeve. I'm going to put my sleeve inside the garment. Like that. Start at the bottom again. It's all lined up for me now. This is the easy part. I'm going to leave this long thread tail because I'm going to pull out my gathering stitch at the end. Like, I know, right there, Nicole? I totally understand. I have done better tutorials than this where you can see the fabric better. And it's in the title of the stream. I can't remember what garment that was. But we talked all about sleeves. That was the whole point of it. Because I'm just a really big advocate of set-in sleeves. They fit better and we feel better when we're wearing it. And a lot of indie pattern companies do not draft, they don't draft set-in sleeves. And I think it's a combination of either some companies don't know how to do a really good one. It's true. And then, oh, that's smart, Nancy. And then, and some know that people are afraid of sewing them, so they don't draft them. Because what'll happen is someone will say, hey, this sleeve didn't fit in the pattern and give it a bad review, when it would have if they'd used the easing stitch, because a sleeve can be up to 1.5 inches bigger on the seam line than the armhole. That is fully standard, and you want as much as possible. 3/4 inch is just not enough, but it's so much easier to deal with. You wouldn't even probably notice it's there. Now I'm feeling the easing. So what happens is then people give it a bad review, and then everyone's like, oh, the sleeve doesn't fit. Don't buy that pattern. When really it was probably well drafted and will fit really well. I know the stripes are awful, right? They're making me dizzy too. Sometimes I don't pick a fabric I really like for chicken boots because of that. All right, I'm at the beginning. So now I'm gonna pull out, you don't have to, but I like to. I pull out this gathering stitch because it'll just come right out like that. It's gone. It'll look a little bit flatter. So let's see how I did. Let's stop looking at those. So here we go. Looks really good. You see that. And you always want to push your seam allowance. This is the other thing. I see people top stitching their armhole. You don't want to do that. Yeah. I do not like dolman sleeves at all. I don't like kimono sleeves. I don't like dolman. I don't like batwing. I don't like any of those, and they are a cop-out. They are unflattering and weird. And I feel like, yeah, they're a cop-out on the pattern drafting. So, yeah, there we go. It's nice and smooth. There's not as much easing as I'd like there to be. I'm going to look at what that white thread is before I pull it, because it could be the stitching here. I can't really see it. So I think I'm just going to trim it. I'm going to pull it a little bit. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, good. It's not one of those. So yeah, you never want to top stitch your armhole because people will do that to cover up that it didn't go so well sewing. And I just don't recommend that because this is a totally different shape than this. And you want your seam allowance to be pressed towards the sleeve always. Always press your seam allowance towards the sleeve. It is really, 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 really rare that you wouldn't. And you really want it to push that nice little curve. Thanks, guys. You guys are all impressed. I do this all the time with you guys. What are you talking about? Eek! I'm losing polka dots. It's a crisis. Okay, so let's see. I need to do some gathering stitch on this one. I'm going to do less down here and more up here. And I do it just inside the seam allowance. I'm going to pull on the, no, you wouldn't top stitch. Well, sometimes they do, especially because a t-shirt is not a set-in sleeve. It's a t-shirt sleeve. It's a shirt sleeve. It's a drop shoulder. So rather than the seam line of a t-shirt being right here, it's right here. So it's actually straight. It's just so loose you just don't really notice that. T-shirts are a little boxier. And when they're not, they're usually cap sleeves. They're a little more fitted. Awesome, Dara Nicole. You got this. I have a better tutorial too. This fabric is so confusing to look at and it's so dark. And I'm not really doing a very good instructional. I'm just sewing it. Okay, so I can't pull on this end because it got caught with my thread. Oh, there we go. I can pull a little bit. So that means it won't probably come out. So I'll just pull it all on this side. Rather than just taking out a few stitches, I'll just pull it on this side. I just don't want it to come out. You know, like you pull your gathering stitch and then the whole thing pulls through. It's a little tight over there. There you go. The dots are a lot easier on the eye, aren't they? Okay. Okay, so wrong sides together. I always, 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 always stitch on the sleeve side, not the armhole side. It's a lot easier to handle. The armhole's a little more of a consistent shape. I haven't made the Scout tee. I'm looking for a good t-shirt. I haven't been a big fan of how I see how that fits, or like the body types I see it on isn't my body type. That's kind of why I haven't really looked at it really closely. But I am looking for a good t-shirt. I'm a Seamwork magazine member as well, so I plan to do some of theirs, and they have a lot of basics now. Okay, so I'm gonna put my sleeve underarm towards the front and my underarm towards the back. Wrong sides together because the French seam. Pin it right there. And if you have your oh, there's my cap. There we go. I have a notch right there. That's awesome. I really love that anchor. Because then you know how much you're easing in front and back. I think that's where it goes. Maybe it goes to that one. Well, it looks about right. All right. Let's start sewing. We're almost done. I'm just gonna see, is there enough on this side? Yeah. We're good. See, like, this is all trying to like fold on me, so I'm gonna kind of straighten that out on underneath. Look at that there. And remember, I don't want to be easing it towards the bottom in the base of the armhole, the curve. I want to be easing all of it on the top. Yeah, I think she sews the sleeves on the flat. You know what? If you really have a lot of trouble easing sleeves in the first few times, do that. It's fine. I don't like it now, but I also am quite comfortable setting in sleeves no matter how hard they are. Doing this method is totally fine. The only difference is that the juncture of the armhole is like this rather than this, and that's because like the sleeve was not sewn like mine. I have my sleeve and I have my body, and now I've connected with a circle, right? And that way the sleeve operates and moves independently of the garment a little bit more. Whereas when you put the sleeve onto the garment flat, you're doing the whole armhole like this, and then you're doing your whole underarm as one. Now you have this one big long sleeve. It's a very subtle difference, but I just find that the sleeve operates a little better when it's set in like I'm doing it. But some armholes aren't built like that. Like the Callie shirt, that is, it's got a shoulder seam and an underarm seam. It's a kimono block. I know, I'm not a big fan of those. But when it's a really short sleeve, it's not so bad. And the reason I don't like those is that when you lift up your arm, the whole shirt goes with you. I don't like that. And there's also more binding up right here and across the back sometimes. So that's just something, because I'm busty, that is a kind of a pet peeve. I don't have tiny biceps. I don't have huge biceps, but I have a bicep. So, and they may teach people to sew it that way in the directions. So it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You wouldn't do that in the garment industry except in budget clothes. I'm not like criticizing it. I'm just saying that's the distinction. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a budget way to do it. Totally fine. I did it. I still do it sometimes. I've done it here. Yeah, you are, Nancy. I know you are. You're really interested in sleeves. I notice it all the time. So you will master it. It wasn't until I figured this trick out, and I think someone taught me how, that I was like, oh, okay, now we're talking. And it was probably in college. I think that's when I learned. So thankfully, I've known how to do it this way for a while. All right, let's trim our yarn fur. Give it a haircut. Yeah, I still set sleeves in like that. Like I put them on armhole first, then underarm. Just depends, you know. Maybe it depends on the day. It would be easier to do French seams that way. Yeah, they're just a little bit different. Oh, you will, Karen. You will. We'll do more jeans here too. There'll probably become a time too where I don't always upload all the streams. We'll just do live things just so there's not like 7 different pairs of ginger jeans on there. And we'll have more pattern drafting tutorials and fitting tutorials. I'm nervous about that. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I know people are like, how do you do it? And it's like, I'm kind of, you know, like, I'm trying to. I don't always have the answer. And sometimes hearing that there's more than one answer isn't really what people want to hear. So, but there is more than one answer. I'm losing polka dots. I'm going to, what am I going to do with this? I want to, like, I'm going to do this. This is a needle. I'm going to poke a needle through here. This is how you deal with a thread that's really short. I'm going to poke this through the seam. I'm going to thread the needle like that. I'm just going to pull it through. That's awesome, Nancy. Yeah. Hi, Christy. How's it going? Nice to see you. We're almost done. We're making another archer. It's been all sorts of interesting. I know. I am going to have to I'm not going to, though. I'm just going to try and, like, you know. What I may end up doing is tying another piece of thread to that piece, that little end, and then just hand stitching it to the seam allowance, right? Yeah, I thought those Morgans looked really good too. Okay, last seam, French seam on the sleeves. We're going dizzy with stripes. Let's get rid of these things, and then we're gonna hem it. I'm gonna take 2 inches off the bottom before I hem it, I think. I always keep the garment on the table so it's not pulling on my needle. I say that all the time, but eventually you guys will start doing it automatically. Why fight with it? We're already trying to coax it. Do I do it now? I'm just gonna do it now. Yeah, the fitting is really intimidating. I understand. It is for me too. Where is it? I lost it. Oh, here it is, right here. Okay, that was pretty tight in there. This is my version of hand sewing, Julia. Don't tell Alabama Shannon. It's just painful to watch me do this, isn't it? I used to love watching these Hmong women hand sew. Okay, there we go. Now, yeah, the rise is so hard. I've been looking at a lot of denim makers that do it professionally, and even some of them, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think they really have the fit down right either. This is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put this here. This is the seam allowance. You can't see it yet because I'm about to stitch it. My polka dots are stitched on my fabric, Christy. That's why I'm doing this. I'm hand sewing. Yes, you have anxiety on doing hand sew. Yeah, see, right? Not pretty. All right, I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna leave a long tail, kind of like you do when you are weaving in your ends and knitting, because the shorter ones can sneak out. You had to leave your sewing room? Okay, yeah, I will tell you, Pattern sizing was really different in the 60s. I had this client when I was a pattern drafter, freelance pattern drafter. It was so fascinating. So she was a online retailer for vintage patterns, and she had this amazing collection, and she had been collecting them for a really long time, and she was really good at what she did. And so she would take a really popular one and she would have me transcribe it so she could print it again, like the ones that didn't have copyright issues. Or she would take one and say, hey, I want this to be exactly sewn the same, but I want it to be modern sizing. It was challenging. It was really hard. Hey, Eliza, your Morgan is sitting there looking at you. Are you a Needle Sharp subscriber, Eliza, or are you just sewing them on your own? I have the Morgans to sew because I got them so I could sew them with Nancy, and then she just sewed them because she's badass that way. Okay, I'm going to pull my gathering stitch out, which is going to fight me a little bit. Oh, it didn't fight me at all, because remember I had that one issue at the end. Okay, it looks all pretty good. There's my hand sewing. Never going to see it again. It's in my armhole. Pop. There we go. I'm a little worried about that right there. Oh, you know what? That's on my yoke on the inside, so it's not even, I'm not even missing dots yet, but I will soon. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty good. I don't have any thread furry sticking out. My sleeves are done. Let's see. There we go. Cute. Yeah. I think my sleeves are a little short. I may have made these I think I was going to try and make these 3/4. I might put a little button on the pocket so you can see the pocket, you know? Oh, I'm going to check the length. Let's check the length. Ta-da! Yeah, so I'm going to cut a couple inches off. These are the original length. Yay! I have a new shirt. Alright, so let's measure up the, match up the plackets here before I trim anything. I'm going to go by the seam, because that's how it's going to overlap. See that? So now I triple check a few times. That could be due to cutting, sewing. You never know. All right. I'm gonna pin this. I'm gonna match up my underarms. So I was thinking about starting like well, I think I pulled the bias pretty good. I love the Aster Melon. I really love it. My sleeve is shorter than the pattern, and I think that's the only change I did. And I think I did a vent on the side seam. Yeah, I love this pattern. It's so easy to sew. The neckline is a little tricky to sew, so I would definitely watch that part of that video I did, because it is just so you can see why it's tricky and how it's tricky. And it's basically because when you're sewing the bias to this, you need to allow extra, like at the where it hits the placket, you need to leave a little unsewn and let it go, and then that way it'll tuck under the placket. And because it's a V, it's kind of contrary to how you feel at the time. I bet it'll be nice in the summer, Nancy. Yeah, they have mixed reviews, Christy. Is it because of sizing? Because the sizing, I feel like, is simple. Hey, Atrinka. Yeah, we got our sleeves set in, no problem. I'm just going to trim off the bottom a little bit and then hem it. Because I know that this pattern is just too long for me now. I've been making it and keeping it the length. But once I like change it. Okay, so I was thinking about adding a stream. Like along the lines of like Ask Sarah Me. You know, and then you guys could email me questions. And I could compile a bunch. And then once a month, I'll just do a bunch at once, you know. Like, I would like you to show me how to do this, or I'm having trouble with that. All right, so I need to do this. Oh, this is so contrary to how I want to hold this. That's why I'm fiddling with it. Because usually I would be on this side of the ruler, but so this is how I use this ruler. This is 2 inches wide. I know I want 2 inches off, so I'm just going to go parallel. I'm not doing a continuous line because I'm going to do that afterward because this is really awkward. Really, I just want something accurate at this point. Like that. Let's do the front. I pinned it so that I know that it's symmetrical. I'm going to go with the shorter one here. You got to make sure you're going across when it's a curve. Cross out the point the measurement you want. YOLO. Yeah, I think that would be fun. You know, like Julia once DM'd me on Instagram about like a sleeve fitting issue. And I felt like that information would have been so helpful to so many people. So it would be really nice to be able to do it for everybody. And then, you know, everyone would know when that stream was coming. And I could do a little like synopsis of these are the questions we're going to be answering. So if you asked one, you can make sure that you watch that video. If Eliza. I have a lot of practice. And I can see the little cut line. You probably can't see it. There we go. I really want a right angle right here. I want a nice smooth transition because sewing a rolled hem on a shirt tail like this is no joke. Oh, cool, Christy. That's awesome. I haven't tried one of her patterns. There's some that really intrigue me. Okay, did I pull all the pins out? I did. All right, let's just hem this up. I really want my plackets to be same. So I do a little fold in because I don't like doing this. I'll show you. I don't like turning and turning because this little edge will poke out like this. I don't like that. I see that on people's things. People that are supposed to like be showcasing their sewing, and I think, no, I don't do that. Yeah, exactly, Julia. Him on a curved shirt, exactly. Yeah, you're welcome. Julia. I'm glad it worked. I hope it worked. I know it's not that's not an easy change. But especially if we got a few questions that were similar, then I could do it all in the same spot. All right, so I just folded over a quarter. So you can do a really narrow hem on a shirt. It's preferred. But I'm not very good at doing really narrow. I don't have a foot for that. I probably do on my home machine, but I'm not using my home machine. And I don't really want to figure out how to use that foot right now if I have it, and if I have that foot. That's awesome. Yeah, you do need something uncomplicated sometimes. It's for sure. Yeah, that's my dots. Let's just tuck that in there. Pretend like we didn't see that. So if you have a really steep curve, you could put in a stitch line along it where you want it to fold. And then pull on it like we did on the sleeve to get the ease. Yeah, you quilters do know how to. And then that way it will want to fold along that line. You can pull it a little bit. It won't look gathered. And then you can pull out the stitch when you're done. My thing is, like, I really don't want to have to fight my hem ironing it, you know? Like, that is a pet peeve for me. So I try and fill the hem with the fabric. I find that that helps. That's what I notice in store-bought stuff, is that the hem is folded and filled with its hem allowance, rather than like say you had a 2-inch hem. You wouldn't fold 2 inches then 2 inches. You'd probably do 1/2 inch then 2 inches, right? Yeah, you could totally do that too, Christy. Use bias binding. I used to do that a lot. Here is my one tip that probably gets missed that I forget to do, and that is pre-wash the bias because it shrinks totally different. Can you see that? What's going on there? I'm gonna pull that out. I lost my seam right there because I cut off the back stitch. So it was starting to pull apart right there. So I'm going to put that back in, and I'm going to do it on the other side too. So let's see, where's the other? So right here, I lost that back stitch when I trimmed it off, and it's trying to pull apart. It was going to cause me a problem. All right. So yeah, pre-wash your bias because I think I've showed it a long time ago what happens. And what happens is, like, the bias is shrinking this way. And even if you pre-washed all your fabric, if the bias didn't get pre-washed, it's going to shrink. And what happens is the bias still looks good, but the outside that you attach it to gets little torque lines. It doesn't fray at all. Bias is awesome. Yeah, you can pre-wash the bias. Just throw it in the laundry with everything else. Maybe put it in a little bag so it doesn't turn into a big knot. Or just pre-wash the fabric. Pre-wash the fabric, then cut it into the bias. Explain what about what ironing? Oh, like because of the hem. My pet peeve is, like, do you know you have like that one shirt, or probably several, where the hem folds up in the laundry and you can't ever get it flat when you iron it? That drives me crazy. And that is one thing that I think that is like my own little personal goal. I'm going to figure out how to prevent that and what is the best way to set myself up for success. Yeah. You could pre-wash store-bought bias. I totally would. So I don't. I use, I have a lot of pre-cut bias, you know, because of chicken boots. And then I would just be like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to put this little polka dot bias hem on here? And it's really cute, but after a while, the outside of where that hem is, it has torque lines because the bias has shrunk and pulled it together, you know? So, you know, a lot of people are doing that right now. I see it on the circle skirts. I saw someone's releasing a pattern soon, and it is the most enormous looking hem. Yeah, that's great, Christy. That'll work. Oh, a zippered pillow cover. That's smart. Yeah. Yeah, and see me, I have rolls and rolls, you know. This is my bias. It's not pre-washed. So I usually do that, and it's because it's spontaneous. So I'm trying to be better about not doing that, but I haven't done it in a while. But we'll definitely do it like in some summer sews. I have a skirt coming up in my needle sharp box, so maybe that'll be a really great place for it. I have an idea on that skirt, by the way. I'm kind of excited. Oh, this is getting a little funky right here. Let me care for this a little bit. Yeah, it's a little weird right there. Now, at the end of the day, what I want is it to look better on the outside, or I want it to look best on the outside. I don't want it to look better than the inside. I just want it to look the best on the outside. So if I have to make a sacrifice, it's going to be on the inside. You know? No, bias doesn't fray. Who asked that? Yeah, Julia, that's the great thing about it. You can use it to tie birthday presents. That's what I tell people. I'm like, here, do you want to roll a bias? It's really great for tying birthday presents. I got a lingerie bag with a bra order that I placed. They were like, oh, here, do you want to add this for a few dollars? And it's been awesome. Because I used to have one that came with my dryer. I don't know what happened to that thing. I think I forgot what it was for and got rid of it when I moved here. The polka dots look like they're crooked. It's so confusing. All right, I'm going to look at my placket length now on the other side. This would have been a good hem to face. Would have been fun. All right, so there's my placket length right there. Non-negotiable. Can you hear that? Did you guys just hear that motorcycle go by? I'm curious. Yeah, she does, Julia. She sent me all kinds of cute little things. I didn't get the bias because I probably didn't buy the same pattern as you. But I did get some other cool little things. That's awesome. You can tell she is a sewer. Get rid of the threads right away. I had a little issue right here. It got a little bound. I think this is one of those I'm going to wash a few times and then see if I'm happy with it. And then fix it. See, I don't really like that flaring there. Probably because I was pulling on it to get it to turn and lay flat. You heard the motorcycle? Yeah. My next place is really quiet, but I don't know how the tenants in the building are. They may be noisy. It's going to be interesting because I feel like I'm going to have people that will socialize with me as my neighbors because I'm inside their building and I have a door into their building to use the restroom. And so I'm wondering if they're going to like walk in and I'll be streaming sometimes, you know. It'll be interesting. We'll get used to it. All right, guys. This turned out good. I'm so glad this is done. I hope I have some buttons. I'm going to look. Let me see. I think, Karen, that what I would do to fix that flare is I would unstitch it, and then I would put a easing stitch on the fold line, and then I would drop the threads a little bit, tighten it, and then iron that edge, and then stitch it down, and then pull out the stitch. Aw, that's awesome, Nancy. You heard it, yeah. Yeah, sometimes people really like to speed on this corner. All right, let's see. My friend Brooke gave me these. Aren't they beautiful? This woman goes to shows, and they're like handmade glass. Yes, I do get a lot of chicken things. These are also made by someone at the shows. I don't think I have any shirt buttons. I think I used them all. I mean, I could use something like generic like this, but I don't like that. I like to go to the yarn store and buy buttons there most often because I really like their selection. They're really special. My fabric store has pretty good, you know, just like simple shirt buttons, which actually are really great. Oh, I need this one. It's on my other Aster that just fell off. Perfect. I'm taking it home today. You know, the other thing, button box. Yeah, I know. It's pretty bad, though. It used to be a little more organized. But I do get a lot of handmade buttons as gifts from people. It's really sweet. I worked somewhere at a fabric store. I don't know if you can see these. These are antique French buttons. These are antique as well. I can't remember where they're from. Here's some ceramic buttons that were made locally. But I had to take these off because ceramic buttons tear the thread. Show us the buttons. How about those? Oh, I got those for. People give me their stash. This is from a sweater I own that I bought. I have these really cool things. I have two of these. I used one on a sweater once. These are vintage. People have way better buttons selections than I do. I'm not a collector. I have to actively not be a button collector. You love the orange on the string. Orange on the string. Let me see. Not those. Let me see. These are fun, except that's too many holes. Orange on the string. So I used to do buttons. This is a little scrunchie I made, a miniature scrunchie elastic, and then you could put it over a button, you know, like that. Oh, like that. These are all vintage, obviously, huh? My daughter made that. Who knows what that's for? This is interesting. Oh, that's coconut. That thing's huge. Same with this. I like this Tagua nut. I use these a lot. Oh, the orange with the 6 holes. Yeah, those are really cool, aren't they? I've used these over and over for in different, like there's different colors in here. Same company. These are my favorites. Same company. There's a yarn store called Castaway that sells these that I bought, and then my friend bought me some too. Oh, I know what that's from. Oh, that's funny. Okay. I made like 50 or 60 or 70 button-down shirts once for a company next to me, and these were the buttons. I had to buy like a gross, and I still have a few. I use them all the time. Oh, these are fun. My friend Sunny bought these for me, and I love them, and I've tried using them a few times, and they haven't worked. That'd be quite a statement. A little too much. All right, well, I need to buy buttons. That's what I've decided. But I'm going to put these in my little, ooh, what's in here? Oh, I got this when I was at the Edinburgh Yarn Festival from, have you guys ever heard of this gal? Her name is, her thing is Beyond Measure, and she makes really, or she doesn't make, she sells really beautiful, laid on the fabric. She makes really beautiful, she sells really beautiful things for sewers. But she has these like handmade pin cushions with like a ceramic. I can't remember the woman. I think it's, oh, you know the how we were talking about that show the other day, the Great British Sewing Bee. Someone made a ceramic head of one of the judges, and then the top was a pin cushion. But Beyond Measure, check out her stuff. She's in Great Britain, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and I got this button at her booth. I was really excited to see sewing supplies. I got more things from her too. I got a wooden folding ruler. I bought screw punch tips, you know. I think the red and white could be cute too, but I think I want them smaller. I think I would like a button about this size right here. Maybe a little bigger. This size would work. It's just kind of big. Yes. That's awesome, Louise. Yeah, she's awesome. Say hi to her for me. I think she might remember me. But she'd know me as Chicken Boots, I think, because I was there. Yeah, shopbeyondmeasure.co.uk. I did go to Edinburgh. It was awesome. It was a little overwhelming if you are not into crowds. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I went to check it out because I really wanted to vend there, and I didn't get in, but I don't think I could at the time. I don't think that legally I would have been able to sell things and take money in another country. I would have needed to be hosted by another booth. So I just didn't figure that out in time, and I just didn't push it. So that'll be awesome, Louise. You need to report back to us and tell us what you find. Yeah, I really like Beyond Measure. She really knows how to pick out really fun things, and she's just really sweet. I really like her. I was so excited when I was like, oh, sewing things here. So, all right, so that's what we decided. I get to go by buttons. I really want to put these on something because Brooke is such a good friend. These might be cute on my pockets, but they're too heavy. They would make my pockets droop. So I think that somewhere between those two sizes, and then this I need to put on my shirt. I'm so glad I found that. But I'm going to put this in my, I have like a bin where I put my, hello Rachel, how's it going? Yay. Treat yourself, Louise. I hope, you got to tell us what you end up getting. Yeah, it's true, Julia. Brooklyn Haberdashery, they sound really cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the other one. There's a French gal also that's sold really cool things. And I know her Instagram is Deuxcar. I don't know how to say it. It's DEUX-CARRES. She also did some really cool stuff. Square button is cute with the dots. Square? Oh, this one? Yeah, but I only have one. What are you guys plotting, Christy? Let me see. I may have missed it. It's so great you guys are chatting so much these days. Show me the orange on the fabric. Okay. I do love that. That's pretty cool. They're kind of big. It looks better in person. Oh yeah, see these are on another shirt I have. I really like their buttons. See, that's the same company too. Here's another one. Do you guys know my tamarack jacket? That's what I put on there. I put on the red buttons of these that are huge. Yeah, do care. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. 2 squares. Yay, I'm so glad you made it too, Rachel. We're almost done. I just finished making the Archer button up. This is part 2. But I'll be live on Thursday. I think the color is great too, Nancy. And I love orange and navy blue. Maybe even like a dark rusty brown color. Hi, Pam. Are you lurking in here? Pam, do you know who makes this fabric at Honey Run? Yeah, they're really cool, but here's the deal. When you have to sew these on, yes, it's 6 holes you have to deal with, but it also, think of this as a big rectangle that's solid. So your buttonholes is forced to stay open around the stitching of those 6 holes. So when I did my tamarack, let me go get my tamarack and I'm going to show you what I did. It's right here somewhere. So on my tamarack, I decided I wanted to do red buttons because of the, I really don't want to lose this button because I really need it. Okay, I'm going to put that right there. Okay, so on my tamarack, So remember my tamarack? I stitched the birds. And here's the lining. So I stitched on the birds and then it showed on the outside. So I did it from the inside, but here are my buttons. And look, I only used the 2 holes. So that, and then I also made a thread shank. Can you see it? Yeah, exactly, Julia. That's exactly what I did. So I made a shank so that there's space in between. So my jacket sits back there and doesn't stretch the thread, you know. Oh yeah, you could do the middle 4 on the diagonal. Middle 4 on the diagonal. What if you did this? Like a little X, you know, that'd be cool. Yeah. Yeah, Rachel, I loved sewing this. So simple to sew. So spend your time on the quilting. I'm not a quilter, so I just kind of was like, what could I do? And I saw someone's pictures on Instagram and it really inspired me. She had got, you'll probably see it too. It's, the fabric looks like different pastel colored hills. And each of the hills looks like a little stitch pattern, which is really cute. And so what she did was she stitched all of her hills, and that's the lining, and so the hills are on the outside. It's really cute. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I looked everywhere for a fabric in my office that I could stitch that was big, that had a big enough motif. And this was the only one I had, was this bird. And then I, you know, all the seams are bound. And then I fussy cut the heck out of my pockets so that they match the lining. So if you sew these, like if you want your lining, the instructions are written incorrectly to sew your pockets to where they say put right sides together. That's not how you do that. You have to do wrong. This piece needs to be wrong side to the sewing so that the right side shows on the outside. Look at all that hand sewing I did. Can't even see my stitches. See? I can do it sometimes. Yeah, I like the red buttons. It really pops. It kind of brings out this kind of coral color. I wear this jacket every day. If the canvas is getting soft and it's really nice. The welt pocket turned out okay. It didn't look that great until I hand stitched it, you know. So I put a shirt sleeve cuff on it. But I do find that this is a little tight through my shoulders, and so I really want to next time add a yoke back here. I'd put a yoke right here and with a big pleat. It'd be really easy to do that, you know. Oh, and I added the collar stand. I added the collar stand so that it would look more like a jacket. And then I added this too the other, like recently, so I can hang it up. So it's not like sitting on my collar, you know what I mean? So hand sewing for the win. So yeah, so this is those 6-hole buttons, and I just made a shank. You can see I wove the shank. I'll show you how to do that sometime, you guys. I learned when I worked for that really awful woman. She passed along some things that were useful. Just not her racism and bigotry, because she was really openly racist and bigoted, and it was intense to be around. And I left. I said, I'm not okay with that. That's not okay. I don't want to work here. So, but I did get some really good sewing kernels from her. So respect to her for that. Yeah, I like it much better with the collar too. And I just used to call it, because this is actually the same pattern company as the Archer. So you can use the collar stand from this and adapt it to that. And that's all I did. I just left this out. You can even do the collar. I kind of like that it looks like a men's work jacket, you know, from working on the farm, like a Carhartt jacket. I worked on a farm, and I don't know if you guys have heard of Carhartts, but they were like kind of our staple. Now I think they're hip. They were not hip when I worked on the farm, trust me. Yeah, I love that. I sometimes I want to post a picture and like say, remember this tamarack? I love it. And I won a $50 gift card on Seamwork to my fabric store of choice. Online fabric store of choice, I should say, for, I think they said most original. People voted for it. It was pretty cute. Yeah, I'm not like the expert button and buttonhole person, but I'll show you guys what I do, you know? So Pam, do you know who this fabric is by? I got it at Honey Run. I'm curious. I did live sew that jacket. You're right, Julia. Yeah, and it's early on, and it's called the Tamarack Jacket by Grainline Studio. And I think it's in 2 parts. I didn't quilt the whole thing for the stream. I just did a little tiny bit so you can see how it was. And so I just did that kind of during the day beforehand. And you can fast forward, you know. You don't have to watch the whole thing. So I'm hoping Pam will tell us who this fabric's by, because I feel like it's by someone like Robert Kaufman or something, or Moda, and you guys might be able to Google it. So, yay for another Archer. All right, you guys. Well, have a great weekend. We were live for a really long time. Hope that was okay. I'm trying to keep the streams like an hour and a half. I would rather stream longer, but I feel like people are like, it's not a Robert, is it Robert Kaufman chambray? It's not chambray though. It's a yarn dyed woven of some sort. Well, I'll try and look it up. So maybe she's texting someone and asking, or she walked away. Maybe I'll be able to put it in the notes of the show. So I will think about what we're going to live stream next week, and maybe look at the boiled wool. I could do a tamarack with that, or what was the other thing you guys sounded kind of interested in? Well, and I have my 2 needle sharp boxes, which would be really great to sew one of those. I need to pre-wash fabric. That's why I didn't do one of the things I was going to do this week. I better start pre-washing again. Yeah, I'm so glad you came, Karen. It's really fun. I love that your first and last name look like Karen. Is it Karen Corone? Or is it just how you wrote it? Have a great weekend, Christy. I'm glad you took a break with us from your sewing. And I will see you guys Thursday. I'm pretty sure everything will be going smoothly. I'm not moving quite yet. I need to start moving soon. But, you know, yeah. Wool sounds awesome. Okay, guys. Have a great weekend. I will talk to you soon. And thank you so much. Yes, and I'll make a social page for you. I'll work on that, Nancy. I have been thinking about it and Googling things. And asking friends, too. So, yeah, look at that community tab on my YouTube page. It's just not the same. Bye, Eliza. Bye, Julie. You're welcome. Not the first one. Okay. Robert Kaufman's Stitched Fabric. Thank you. I knew it was Robert Kaufman. I can't believe I knew that, honestly. That's a shock, honestly. All right, guys. Take care. I will see you guys on Thursday. And Karen squared, exactly. I love that. I love that. Okay, take care.